is not just crucial, it's a matter of life and death. Joining us today is a man who has stared death in the face and lived to tell the tale. Jan Erasmus is a mining professional whose life was forever changed by a near-fatal accident. In 2008, as a new member of a shaft-sinking team, Jan fell 23 meters, sustaining severe injuries but miraculously surviving. This experience transformed him into a passionate advocate for mine safety. Today, Jan shares his powerful story and explains why taking safety personally is crucial in the mining industry. We explore lessons that could save lives and revolutionize our approach to safety in mining. Jan, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Look, let's reflect on your journey into mining. Where did it all start?
It started December 2007
Sure.
when I started working in shaft sinking.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in Springs area, we were sinking a shaft.
Sure.
So it was an interesting start because I used to be, I'd never worked in the mining industry.
Yeah,
I worked office type of jobs before that. So I was a young man of 25 getting the opportunity and I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to show that I belong here.
You spoke about shaft sinking. So for somebody who does not know what shaft sinking is, maybe describe what that is.
So shaft sinking, basically, it is what it is. It's starting off with just a piece of land that's there. And you start developing that into a mine.
Sure.
You start with your box holes and then from there you develop into the mine itself, into whatever size the mine is going to be. You use various equipment in between. We use a grab, for example, sometimes to do the loading out of the stuff we blasted. We also use what we used to call a kata. It's a front end loader machine that runs on tracks of its own. That also would help with loading out the stuff. And you throw it into a kibble. That's a cylindrical type of bucket, but it's big enough to fit about 10 to 12 people if it's a big shaft.
Sure.
Small shafts, the smallest I've had was one that could fit 6 people.
Sure.
So and you could look over it. Some of them you have to climb out of it. Some of them you can just look over it.
Oh.
And then I also worked on a stage. Now a stage, some people when I introduced myself, I'm a stager, and they think I work in theater
Production,
somewhere.
Yes.
Where it's not. No, a stage is just a piece of equipment that hangs in the middle of the shaft.
Okay.
It's from where you install your services, your air and your water. You also pour the concrete ring that keeps the ground stable.
Okay.
From the stage.
So you've been in it for at least over 15 years. What would you describe as the best parts of mining, and perhaps the not so good as well?
The best parts of mining would be to see when people really get together and achieve a goal. And there's goals that I see people reach daily and with odds that stacked against them, and you won't believe. Personal wise, I've done a lot. I've reached a lot of goals that I wanted to reach. Some of the worst parts is that I've unfortunately also had to, in my capacity as a proto member, remove bodies from a mine.
Sure.
And that was a very difficult thing to do. Initially, I thought it's just another thing to do, but when you actually have to do it, it does touch you on a deeper side, a very deeper side.
And you've just mentioned one of the important work that you do, and I just want to touch on it as a proto member. And the work that you do to save lives and perhaps to help mines and support them heavily. Do you ever recover from some of the things that you see and deal with as a proto team member in these instances?
We have a lot of ways of coping with things, a lot of methods, some of them not good, some of them very good.
Sure.
But you never really fully recover. You get to a point where you are better with it, coping with it, and also handling it the next time a lot better. Unfortunately, a lot of these things, you get to a point, if the more you do it, the more you get used to it, unfortunately. But also it takes time to recover from it, and it takes time to really process your thoughts around it.
Yeah, so you were actually injured at work to a point where you almost lost your life. Let's just talk to us about that incident. What happened on that day?
So it happened on the 12th of January 2008. I was working in the mining industry for a month.
Yeah.
So we were busy. The morning we actually finished drilling the shaft bottom onto a solid level. And we had to just drill new soil nails for the stage to hang on in the shaft sinking process. I was working on the kibble. We were placing gang planks over the middle of the kibble hole so that the kibble cannot, or we don't want people to fall down there actually. That was the main reason for that. Now I was working on my knees and I felt, yes, I need to stretch a bit. And as I got up, the full body harness I was wearing prevented me from fully stretching. And then I made the mistake of bending down, unhooking both clips, and I stepped back. So when I stepped back into an open ventilation hole, and then I fell roughly about 23.7 meters to the shaft bottom.
Sure. So, I mean, you step back trying to stretch yourself. I mean, sometimes the body needs to stretch while you're working, especially at heights and these, body harness covering you there. What options did you have so that you could do it safely? What could you have? What were you supposed to have done it? How were you supposed to have done it?
The first thing I should have done is actually look at the area where I'm working at. I was aware of where I'm working at, but I did not fully comprehend of where I'm standing on the stage at that point in time. If I just looked around and saw that, listen, there's an open hole behind me, I probably would have turned to the side to stretch, and then nothing would have happened to me. If I just took that second just to see what's behind me, I would have not had this story to tell.
Why do you think you didn't think much about, making those moves?
I think it's not a lapse in concentration. It's just you get so busy with what you're doing, and you don't realize that you have to all the time look for reasons or for hazards in your area.
Sure.
And reasons to be safe. At that point of time, I never thought of an open hole behind me.
And I'm asking you this, Jan, because sometimes the quick and the easy way is not always the safest.
No.
How do we get ourselves in the mining space to ensure that we follow the rules, even when it's uncomfortable and it's time consuming?
I think that's where one of my mottos is take safety personal. Make it your own. Make it that you do this for the right reason. We work on the mining industry and we want to provide for our families.
Sure.
But in providing for your family, you must take your safety personal. Make it your own. Make it that I must actively search for what can injure me.
Sure.
I believe that if you actively look out for yourself, in turn, you also look out for the body next to you. And in doing that can prevent people from getting injured.
Yeah. Maybe describe to us the injuries that you incurred when you fell 23 meters down.
Sure. There was a lot, but mainly let's start at the bottom. The left heel, I fractured my left heel, my right tibia fibula. The right foot, I tore off the ligaments. Then higher up, the right pelvis and hip. Then also my tailbone. I fractured my right upper arm. It was an open fracture. Then I also fractured both my wrists in the bottom.
Sure. After an incident like this happened, there's generally panic, especially on people that are around you, and that can impact the response time. I mean, them calling for help, and consequently getting you out of that space. What value did how your team respond to that incident? Because I think they were fairly swift to getting you help. What value did that add to your life?
I must say that unfortunately, working with me on the stage that day was my brother-in-law.
Sure.
I know to this day also this incident severely impacted him on a personal level as well. But he was there. He immediately took everything out of the way. He immediately made sure that he gets help to me.
Sure.
And then from there, he also went out into the control room of the mine and contacted the emergency services, where the other miner that was on shift, the sinker, then started with the necessary first aid as well as the people that arrived after them. The thing that helped me most, I think, is the shaft was not that deep yet. So the paramedics could be there also in a very good time. Yeah.
Sure. You're not the only person impacted by this incident and your injuries. Your family was just in pain. Just talk to us about the impact this incident has had on your family.
Yeah, so when I had the accident, my wife was about 5 months pregnant with my eldest son.
Sure.
She was actually visiting me for that day. And then my brother-in-law was the one that called her and listen, Jan had an accident. You need to get to the mine now. I still remember her telling me that when she arrived there, the people wanted to stop her from looking down to where I was lying. But she pushed him out of the way and she just wanted to see me one last time. It was extremely difficult for her to cope with the amount of pain I was going through at that time. So much so that she nearly suffered a miscarriage. Even later when I was in hospital, she still had some problems and had to be given some medication.
Describe the dependence and support you needed after you were discharged. And I just want you to focus on the changes that it brought to your family and the adjustments that you had to make.
So immediately after I was discharged, unfortunately, I had to spend about 2 months in a wheelchair. So at that point now, a very heavily pregnant woman had to push me around in a wheelchair, help me get in and out of the bath, help me get dressed. It's very, as a man, it takes away your abilities. And now you have to depend on your wife to really do everything for you.
Sure.
I'm very grateful for my wife. She's a strong lady. But it did open my eyes to what worth she's given to my life.
Sure.
Also, easy things like getting in and out of a car. In the beginning, it was a struggle. In the beginning, after I started walking again, even though it's one of those things you struggle with, getting in and out of a car. Going up a flight of stairs was extremely difficult. Taking long car drives. My family, my wife's family stay in Claresdorp, which at that point was about, let's say, 200 km away from us.
Sure.
So taking long car drives was not an option. It's not something that you wanted to do. And then also, there's a general abilities that I've lost. I used to be a very sporty person.
Yeah.
And there's some of the sports that I cannot do anymore.
Sure. Did you feel like you've disappointed yourself or even your wife?
I think the disappointment I felt was more towards myself and my whole family, more especially my wife, and then also my father. He literally got old because of my accident. He was a young, vibrant Madala, if you can say that. But I've noticed, because the same year he turned 50, and when we were at his birthday party, on his 50th birthday, I thought to myself, when did this guy get this grey? Because he was not grey at all.
Sure.
And then I asked my wife, when did he get this grey? And she said, since January.
Sure. Look, and you've gone through a couple of surgeries after your incident, to get you back to a better state. Do you have any permanent impacts on your physique as a result of that incident?
That's now where I think I'm built different.
Yeah.
I was declared disabled by Rand Mutual.
Sure.
I've lost about 39% of my normal ability. The thing is, I've put this mental block in my mind.
Absolutely.
That there's nothing that I won't be able to do. But there is things that I can't do. Running and cycling is one of those sports that, I should be able to do it.
Yeah.
But even running or going cycling, after a few kilometers, it really gets very painful.
Sure.
Playing golf, I was a very avid golf player before the accident. After the accident, playing golf, the first few rounds was terrible. And even now, there's things I cannot do anymore that I used to be able to do. I used to be able to walk 18 holes. Now I rent a cart. I have to.
Yeah.
I won't be able to finish walking 18 holes of golf.
This is a miracle, Jan. You are a miracle. Your reflection on this?
My reflection on this is that it's grace that saved me.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely grace that saved me. I mean, when I had my accident, I think it was within the first 2 hours, I had people in Australia praying for me.
Oh, yeah.
So it shows that there's a network out there that we can depend on.
Sure.
And it's proven to me that God is alive and He does perform miracles.
Sure. But look, how did you then get yourself to go back to the mines? I mean, I know you're still there. Did you not ever feel like, I don't want to do this anymore? And just maybe also touch on what your wife felt like when you made the call that you're still going to be in the industry.
The first time I went back, I would say I was lucky because the shaft sinking community is a very close bond. So a lot of people wanted me back, but they also wanted me to be safe.
Yeah.
And they did not want me to take chances or be under pressure. So the first few months back, I was working on surface, doing not heavy work, banksman duties, admin duties. My wife, she was okay with it as long as I was not in real danger.
Oh, sure.
The difficult part came in when I started going back to the stage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical work happening in shaft sinking, and
Sure.
on the stage itself, that's one of the areas where a lot of physical work happens.
Yeah.
I was blessed with a crew that really supported me and helped me, but I still had to perform my part as well.
Yeah. Sure.
And the first time around, it was easy because there was another stagehand with me, so he guided me and showed me, listen, be aware of this, do this like this. The difficult part came in the first week. I was alone on that stage. I remember having nightmares afterwards. Every night telling my wife, listen, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
And she just kept on encouraging me, kept on telling me, listen, you've got this. You've done the hard part.
Yeah.
This is the easy part.
Sure. How has this experience changed how you do work to date?
I think it opened my eyes towards what could have happened to me.
Yeah.
And it also inspired me to become a safety officer.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we as people in the mining industry forget is that safety is our priority. Yes, we have to take out whatever mineral we're mining.
Yeah.
But safety is your priority. If you cannot take out the mineral safely, then why are you there?
Well, yeah.
Then you might as well it's better for people to sit at home than for your loved ones to cry next to your coffin.
Reflecting on this incident, Jan, what would your advice be to people who are working in environments where there are hazards? I mean, be it working in heights around heavy, big equipment, or even underground where there is different ground conditions.
The thing about mining is there's a lot of laws.
Yeah.
But there's a few very important laws that every person that clocks in on a mining site should remember.
Sure.
And that's section 22 and 23.
Absolutely.
Look after your own health and safety.
Sure.
Make sure that you are safe. Then also make sure that your brother and your sister is safe.
Absolutely.
Make sure that the equipment around you are safe.
Oh.
Then when it comes to section 23, yes, there is times where you're going to get instruction.
Yeah.
Not from the supervisor that he wanted to injure you. But instructions are sometimes given without proper thought. And you have the right, use that right. If people would just start using their rights on the mine to say, listen, this is a dangerous task. Should we not consider doing a risk assessment or consider doing it on another method, in another way, to see if we can not injure people?
Sure. Periods towards the end of the year, or rather call it the festives, normally record a very high safety incidents. Why do you think that's the case?
I think the problem is people start losing control. They start losing the focus. They start thinking that it's towards the end of the year, and they start thinking towards what they want to do at the end of the year. Whereas if you are not focused on your task, if you are absent-minded on what you're doing, then you're not going to notice the small thing changes or the small areas that now become a hazard. And you're going to oversee it. And that oversight, if I just look back, If I just look back,
Sure.
that little oversight.
And there's just general fatigue towards the end of the year. I mean, for a lot of people, it's been a long year. They've gone through different things in their lives. How do we get people to focus and just be at it like they would in the beginning of the year?
You know, the thing is, we have shift systems, and we have working arrangements, working hours that is designed to keep you at your optimum level.
Absolutely,
throughout your year at the mine. But then there is options available that you can go and say, listen, guys, I feel a bit fatigued.
Yeah.
And they will do the necessary things for you. They will take you and put you into a program where you get some rest.
Sure.
People should never or think of themselves as bad when they go complain that, listen, I feel fatigued.
Yeah.
Fatigueness in the mining industry is a real thing.
Sure.
And if you are overworked and overstressed, then you're not going to see the hazards.
Yeah.
Because then you're just focused on getting the day done.
What do you think are the key things that we should put in place, the very key things during these festive seasons to ensure that, the whole industry goes through it safely?
I would say number one is do the simple things right.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you are starting a task, do a proper risk assessment.
Sure.
By us, we call it a SLAM. Other people call it a mini risk assessment. Others call it a HIRA. Do what you have to do to make sure you identify the hazards around you.
Sure.
That's the basics. Then also there's SOPs that is there to guide you, to show you that this is how the task is designed.
Sure.
And follow them. If there's a way you do the SOP different, then mention it. Listen, guys, let's do a risk assessment on this SOP. Let's review it. Let's see if this SOP is still valid. And if it needs to be changed, then we change it.
Sure.
Then follow the laws, the basic laws of the mine.
Yeah. Oof.
And another thing that people don't realize is PPE. Comply to PPE. It's designed to keep you safe.
Yeah. Look, Jan, thank you so much for sharing your personal story. And look, I think that it will impact people in making best safety decisions and really just taking safety personal, like you're saying. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
The prevalence of mine accidents can be very sobering and underscores why Jan's story and this conversation is very important. Every safety protocol, every piece of equipment, and every training session exists for a reason. Let us all contribute to making mines safer, one shift at a time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and God bless.